But I just talked to her. She's feeling great, and I think she'll be back out there tomorrow. It's a crazy time we live in, you know, when people think there's something unusual about getting the flu. Last time I checked, millions of people were getting it every year.
Former President Clinton out at an event, and his people said, no, he didn't mean the flu, he meant pneumonia. This as Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine released their medical records on the Hillary Clinton side. Part of that release, I should say, statements, medical statements. The info release ends with something from her doctor, Lisa Bardak. My overall impression is that Mrs. Clinton has remained healthy and has not developed new medical conditions this year other than a sinus and ear infection and her recently diagnosed pneumonia. She is recovering well with antibiotics and rest. She continues to remain healthy and fit to serve as President of the United States. However, this does come as we hear about this Colin Powell email hack, and in those emails, as Jennifer Griffin reported, was this one. In an exchange with Jeffrey Leeds, Colin Powell says, on HGTV, she doesn't look good. Remember, this is back in 2015, this email. She's working herself to death. She will turn 70 her first year in office. Reply from Jeffrey Leeds. Sheldon Whitehouse, who's the senator, who is a huge Clinton supporter, said they were both giving speeches at the same event a few months back, and she could barely climb the podium steps. So it gives you some perspective on the back and forth. Let's bring in our panel. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Charles Hurt, political columnist for the Washington Times. A.B. Stoddard, associate editor at Real Clear Politics, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Charles, obviously these are not complete medical records, and we have to wait till Dr. Oz's show to hear everything that's in this letter, but it's not going to be a John McCain release.
Look, I don't think thus far there's anything here on either side. We would know about it. You get a review of systems and a physical done last week and a few blood tests. That's okay. And you get on Hillary's side a statement from her own doctor that she's had nothing except what is a sinus infection, ear infection over the last year. Look, we see these people every day. If there was something chronic and debilitating, we would see it. We saw a collapse. We know there was an episode, and we have a good cause. She apparently has a pneumonia in her right middle lobe, started about a week before with a bronchitis, and this is the normal course for that. If you drive yourself with a walking pneumonia, you are going to get sick, and you'll probably end up in bed.
And when you hear Sheldon Whitehouse, according to these emails, say that she couldn't make it up the steps of the podium in 2015?
It's third hand. If we have other reports of that, I would take it seriously. And if you have a physician who follows her and there was an underlying condition that would explain that, I think we would have heard about it. Look, a physician has their license and reputation on the line. They are not going to lie for a client. Well, perhaps they will, but the consequences are going to be very high. And I don't think that most doctors are going to do that.
Steve?
Well, they may not lie for a client, but it's been pretty clear that the Clinton administration or the Clinton campaign has been deliberately misleading. I had to write down the number of different stories we've gotten from them in order to keep track. At first they said there was nothing wrong, then it was just a cough, then it was allergies, then she was dehydrated, then she was overheated, then it was pneumonia diagnosed 2 days earlier, and now Bill Clinton suggests that it might have just been the flu. Maybe Bill Clinton just misspoke. He's done it before. He did it in a CBS interview that was edited out. What's clear is the Clinton administration not only were not transparent. I mean, I was listening to another network on my drive in today, and they were concerned that the Clinton campaign hadn't been transparent with the American. That's not what is happening here. They've deliberately misled the American people and voters with what's happening here. I mean, they sent Hillary Clinton out to wave to the crowd, to wave to the cameras, in an effort to make her look like she was just fine. Now, maybe she's just fine long term. I defer to the good doctor about that. But what's very clear is they're not fine in terms of misleading the American people about what's going on.
Maybe.
Well, I hope that Charles is right, the good doctor, because I hope when one of these two people becomes president, they are healthy. And I do believe that when we see them day in, day out, they appear to be very strong. They keep just punishing schedules, and it looks completely brutal. And she was able to power through this weekend. But I do think...
That is, by the way, the word they use.
Right.
The campaign has used power through
well,
more
I was
than
quoting
any...
it. Yeah. I think that... Still, from my understanding, and I am not a physician and I don't read these forms regularly, that Trump's numbers were a snapshot in time, that when you had the physical, if you were doing pretty well, it wouldn't reflect a bad EKG from years past, perhaps a heart event in your past, and a kind of high risk for this or that. Again, with Hillary Clinton, we noticed that Dr. Bardak said, except for a sinus infection and an ear infection this year, she seems to have just had the pneumonia. So we know she had a concussion and then followed by a blood clot. She probably is at higher risk at some point for blood clots.
On blood
it's
thinners.
a serious brain event. And so at some point, full medical history, I believe, at the age of 68 and 70 should be required.
Trump.
You know, unfortunately for Hillary Clinton, you know, it almost doesn't matter at this point if she does get a clean bill of health, as it appears she is getting. Because people tend to, I think that Charles is right, that people tend to sort of believe their own eyes, and when they see somebody that looks healthy and is acting, you know, active on the campaign trail, they go with that. But the real problem is none of this is going to erase the image that people have of that video that's going to be played maybe 1 billion times between now and the election of her being carted into the van, and that I think that you know, speaks volumes more than any records could. The good thing, though, for her right now is that she has far more popular Democrats right now campaigning for her in Michelle Obama and President Obama and
President Biden and others.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't see what the argument's about. Medically speaking, there's no evidence of anything serious. In terms of how they handle this stuff, I've been the one complaining since the incident in 2012 that they never gave us the complete information about the concussion, the fall, the blood clot. And that, I thought, raised a lot of suspicions. However, after 6 months, she appeared to have no disabilities as a result of that. And she has been on a grueling campaign trail for 1.5 years. I would prefer if we had the full medical records of the two of them. I don't think we're going to get it. But that would be the only way to definitively know whether there's any evidence of anything underlying. As of now, there's none.
Okay. There is evidence of this race changing, especially in the swing states. Let's start in Florida. The CNN ORC poll out tonight. The four-way race, Trump up 3 in this. That is within the margin of error. You take a look at CNN's Ohio poll, Trump up 5. That is interesting in Ohio, and it would be a big shift, but it matches Bloomberg, Ohio's poll, also Trump up 5 in Ohio. You take a look at the Monmouth poll in Nevada, another swing state, Trump up 2. AB, you look at national polls, it's moving as well. This race has changed.
I really think it has. I think that Trump has the best path he's ever had. It's not an easy path, but he has a path now. Mrs. Clinton is losing votes, I believe, of Bernie Sanders supporters and probably Republicans who are never going to vote for Trump, but after the convention was telling pollsters that they would support her. And that is a result of the foundation stories, the defiance from the Clinton family about trying to, you know, being told by even Democrats like Ed Rendell, you know, on the record saying, please shutter the foundation or neutralize it today, the FBI report, and then the deplorables comment, and then now this event with her being sick and trying to keep it a secret for 2 days. This is the kind of thing that turns people off and turns them away from Hillary Clinton. And as I've said so many times, in a 5-way, 4-way race, he can win it.
Yeah, Steve, what's not in these polls is the enthusiasm gap. And we saw in the Washington Post ABC poll, it's about 46 to about 30% of Democrats who are fired up to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Right, I think that's right. And I think the key point with both the point that you made and what AB said is that this affirms what we know about Hillary Clinton, or what people think that they know about Hillary Clinton. This affirms long-held views about who she is and what she does, particularly with respect to honesty and trustworthiness. I have to say, though, the flip side of the Hillary Clinton bad 3 weeks, and she's had a horrible 3 weeks, is that Donald Trump has had a better 3 weeks. I mean, he had that event with the Mexican president, and while the immigration speech, I think, sort of made a muddle of the policy, the event itself was good. People saw pictures of the events. If you looked in swing state newspapers on the front page, they had the photograph of Trump standing next to the Mexican president after having heard from weeks from Team Clinton that he couldn't possibly pull off any international diplomacy, that he was a threat. So I think he had a good event there, and he's made fewer outrageous comments. I mean, it must be said. He made them on a weekly basis until the last couple weeks. He's been in better control lately.
And that last point, quickly, Charlie, is that this debate, September 26th, really sets the stage. I mean, it's going to be the Super Bowl of politics. If Trump can get over the bar of commander-in-chief, does it further change this race?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think that it could, if things continue to go in this direction, it could seal it. It could seal it away for him. But the big thing I think we have seen over the past couple of weeks is that coming out of the Democratic convention, the question was, is Donald Trump fit to be president? And they've kind of flipped that around now, and people are asking, is Hillary Clinton fit to be president? And that's to Donald Trump's advantage.